is going to be our Blackhawks panel tonight. And there is no shortage of storylines going on with the Chicago Blackhawks. So let us introduce for you our panel tonight. First off, one of our longer time writers here at the Hockey Writers is Gail Kauchuk. So let's welcome Gail to our panel. Hello, Gail.
Hello, nice to be here.
It's great to have you with us. And then next, Shaun Filippelli. Hello, Shaun.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you very much.
And Brooke, and then the third member tonight, Brooke LoFurno. Hello, Brooke.
Sorry. Hi, how are you?
Oh, it's okay. The technology can sometimes get the best of all of us every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said here, it seems like that the Chicago Blackhawks have no shortage of storylines whatsoever. Just fascinating to me. So, Gail, I guess we'll start with you. You all saw the thing that came out from the Chicago Blackhawks, that letter indicating kind of like a direction of team, similar to what the Rangers did a couple of years ago. My question is this a true rebuild in your mind, or is this actually something different?
It's really hard to call this a rebuild because you still have your core four. You still have Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, and Brent Seabrook. And I think as long as you have the four of them, you can't really call it a true rebuild. It's more of a retooling around them. And what more can you really do? Because, you know, I'm sure we'll get into this as we go here, but there's not, it doesn't sound like any of the four of them are planning on going anywhere. So you work around them, and that could be possible. It's a retool around them.
Absolutely. And Shaun, do you agree with Gail, or do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what Gail said. To be honest, I don't know that it's a true rebuild at all. All I can say is about their messaging and communication. It sounds like that's what they're trying to tell all of us, but I think it's just confusing, to be honest. They're sort of tiptoeing around the matter, but it's not really, like Gail said, it's not really a rebuild. It can't be. So as much as everyone sort of thinks that's what they should do, or that's what they are doing, realistically, they're not, because they're not doing all of the moves that would require it to be a rebuild. So retooling is probably a great word. I would echo what Gail said.
Brooke, do you agree with them?
Absolutely. This is not a full rebuild. I feel like it's kind of half-assed, to be honest with you, because we still have the core. I mean, we're not doing like what Ottawa or New York, or like we still have all of our pieces, and we didn't get any draft picks. We're kind of just stuck. All we can do is just kind of retool around them, like what Shaun and Gail said.
So Shaun, everyone kind of brought it up to a different degree about, the big four, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook. I mean, just the core who was there for all of those cups. I just wonder their reaction to that, for them being there for so long. I'd have to imagine they would be pretty upset at that. Do you feel like that they have a right to be mad at the approach the team is taking?
I think it's a loaded topic. I don't know that they have a right to be mad at the approach. I mean, that's not their job to tool the team. Their job is to do the best they can on the ice and create an on-ice product for the team and to show that passion game in and game out. So for them to be mad, or Jonathan Toews being angry at not knowing what was going on, I don't know that they have that right, so to speak, in that respect, because that's up to management. That's their goal.
Mm-hmm.
However, with that said, them being the core, Jonathan Toews being the leader he is, these players being around for as long as they have, I think that what it shows is a disalignment through the organization, and that's never a good thing. If they don't know what's going on, or there's no transparency, that's still not a good thing. So I don't know that they have the right, but clearly it's not a good thing as far as internal communications go.
Brooke, do you feel like that the big four should be mad at this approach?
I kind of agree with what Shaun said. In a way, yes. In a way, not so much. But I will say, I feel like the one player that does deserve to be mad, I would say, is Patrick Kane, because that guy has done everything the organization has asked of him. He's the one that continues to produce. Or the management has taken away all of his line mates with the Panarin and Schmaltz and everything else, and he produces with everyone, and yet he kind of just that's not what he wanted, but that's what he's gotten. So I feel like if there is one player that deserves to be mad, it's him. But in a way, I understand that too. It's not the player's position to do that, but yeah, I feel like maybe he's the one. But other than that, it's kind of iffy and hard to be in that position.
Absolutely understood. Yeah, it's understood. It's a tough position. Gail, do you agree with what Shaun and Brooke are saying at this point?
I think they have a right to be upset about not being told, especially about the Cory Crawford situation. That was a pretty big deal. And that was another core player that's been part of 2 cups that I think they all expected. Everybody just kind of expected he was going to be back. And I think that was the biggest thing. And the other trades, Saad and not re-signing Cuckoo and Mata, that's business. But to a certain extent, you should be communicating with your veterans and with the people that are your bread and butter. And I know that we've all probably heard that they did some damage control. Stan Bowman sat down and actually, had a Zoom call with them where the coaches were involved and the other staff was involved. And hopefully they were able to all come to the same page. Hopefully that damage control really did work, because if you don't have these 4 guys on board, it's not good. It's not a good thing. And it's going to be a tough season, and you just really want to have them behind you. And Coach Colleton says that he's the guy that's supposed to be the communicator, and maybe he didn't have a chance yet, but I'm hoping that he can pull them in and make the season, salvageable.
We're approaching 20 minutes to 9 o'clock here. So if you're just joining us, this is the Hockey Writers Live. This is episode number 5. I am your host, Mark Scheig. And tonight on our panel, we have our 3 of our Blackhawks writers. Gail Kauchuk has joined us, Shaun Filippelli has joined us, and Brooke LoFurno is joining us tonight. And Brooke, I'll start this one with you. We talked about the Big 4 and how it's a tough situation. Hope things ultimately work out. But I wonder, Patrick Kane, could he end up going somewhere else? Could they possibly look at trading Jonathan Toews or Brent Seabrook or Duncan Keith somewhere? Do you feel like that a trade of one of the Big 4 or more is possible?
I think it's possible, but I think it's hard. If there's one person on the 4 that I would trade right now, it would probably be Toews, because you could get a lot of good prospects for him. It'd be harder to move someone, I think, like Keith or Seabrook, who are older and have high cap hits. But I think it's possible, but I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening, because Stan Bowman kind of reiterated that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is what it is. But yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And Gail, do you feel like a trade could happen?
There is some talk about Seabrook maybe being interested in the expansion draft, going to the Seattle Kraken, but of course that's not until next year. There's also been talk about Duncan Keith, at his age, maybe wanting to chase another cup somewhere else. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Duncan Keith is the kind of guy that is pretty loyal, and I don't see it. I don't see it happening. And Toews and Kane, they're lifers. I think that they'll be here. I could be wrong. Everything changes fast around here, but I think they all want to be here. I think they're all established, and I think that they all are pretty set. And I don't see trades. How about you, Shaun?
Well, before this offseason, I would have completely agreed with everything you just said. For some reason, this offseason, like most of us fans, have thrown me for some loops as far as what this team is doing. So, to be honest with you, I don't know that it would be very likely, like Brooke said, for a number of reasons, financials being one of them, and also the return. I don't know if they get what they would want to get or what they should get for as many jerseys as I'm sure they sell with Toews and Kane and Keith and Seabrook on the back of them. But the 2 I would see as being possible at this moment would be Toews or Kane. I mean, Kane still has immense value, and Toews can still lead like no other. So I could see there being a possibility. I just don't know how likely it is. Again, the financials and the return, I think, being the biggest factor. But is it possible? I mean, I think we're seeing now as Blackhawks fans, anything's possible. So
That's true.
It's also 2020. Though it
Yeah.
seems like that you think the impossible becomes possible. And I agree with what you all were saying about just how hard a trade would be, the financial impact, and would anybody be willing to do it? But just a thought for mind, until they signed Taylor Hall, I was thinking, why not the Buffalo Sabres?
I completely agree.
Call about Patrick Kane,
Yep.
Kane and Jack Eichel playing together. That would be just sick beyond belief. Don't think it happens, but still, just what if? Sometimes just what if. So Gail, let's talk about Cory Crawford for a minute. He's now with the New Jersey Devils. I that's a sentence I never thought I would utter in any universe, but here we are, and he's gone, and he was the one that helped bring the Blackhawks to a couple of Stanley Cups on his back. Can you just talk about the impact that not only losing him has, but on everybody else on that Blackhawks team?
Well, I think if you haven't had a chance, you should check it out, because Shaun wrote a great article about 3 weeks back, all about Cory Crawford and how he's just a legend. And he's always, in the hockey world, he's always kind of been the Rodney Dangerfield. He doesn't get any respect, but I think that Blackhawk fans know better than that. We've been around and we've seen him fight through so much. And he is really, really going to be missed. I mean, it's just leaving a huge hole. That being said, the whole thing with Crawford is that he was looking for a 2-year term, and the Blackhawks, just only wanted to sign him for 1 year. They're investing in their future. They've got 3 great goaltenders up and coming, and I think they would have loved to have had that insurance policy with Crawford for that 1 year, but they weren't willing to commit to 2. And with his age and with his concussion history, I don't blame them. I think that they had to do what they had to do. And it's unfortunate that Crawford is not here for 1 more year. I think it was the right thing to do. I agree with what Bowman did.
Shaun, just want to give you a chance to talk about that article that Gail was referencing in Cory Crawford, just the legacy, and then ultimately, was it the right move?
Yeah, thank you for talking about the article, first of all. I'm going to, again, echo what Gail said. Crawford's been a legend for years. The unfortunate part is he's never really gotten that credit. I would even go so far as to say a lot of Blackhawks fans probably haven't given him the credit that he's deserved. And that's what sort of prompted me to write that article, was because once he was gone, I sort of thought, if there's ever going to be a time to really lay it all out there for everyone to see in black and white, now's the time to realize what he really did do for this franchise. So I think he absolutely was a legend while he was here, and I think that legend will grow with him being gone, because people will reflect on what he really did and accomplished. But again, I'll agree with Gail too and say that I think it was the right move. Even the 1-year offer at $3.5 million was a little bit confusing for a couple reasons, but the Blackhawks spending more than that on Cory Crawford for this upcoming year just didn't make sense. So it was the right move to not re-sign him, given the financial aspect. And they do have some great goalies coming up. Delia specifically I think is going to come in and take over, and I'm excited to see what he can do with a bigger workload.
And Brooke, about Cory Crawford, just what are you going to remember most about his time in Chicago?
Oh my gosh, there's too many, but the fact that he has the most playoff wins in franchise history, Shaun and Gail are right. He has absolutely no respect. No one ever talks about him. They always talk about the Carey Price and the Braden Holtbys and all that, but Crawford never got that respect, and it's really kind of aggravating because of what he's done and what you've seen, in the playoffs against Vegas. It was you can see he's so elite, but I do agree with them that it was time to move on from him. He is older. He's not getting any younger, and his injury history is a little concerning, but I'm happy for him that he went to New Jersey and got the deal he did with them. But I will say I am a little concerned about moving on from Crawford when we don't have Robin Lehner as an insurance goalie. But I do have faith in Colin Delia, because we've seen bits and pieces of him the past 3 seasons, and he has been good, but it's just more like having that goalie anchor that I wish we kind of had. But I am excited to see though what Colin Delia can do. I agree with Shaun. I think he can do fine with a bigger workload, but it's kind of more just about the unknownness of it. I think is still kind of iffy, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But I will always love Cory Crawford. I think he's fantastic and he'll always be a legend.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into the next part of this, and we'll start with Shaun. The Blackhawks managed to go from a duo of Cory Crawford and Robin Leonard now, unless they make another move, to Colin Delia and to Malcolm Subban. So do you see the upside here? I mean, do you feel like that they need to bring somebody else in, or can they realistically go into 20 and 21 with a duo of Delia and Subban in your mind?
Yeah, I don't think they need to bring anybody else in. I would have argued that maybe a few weeks back, but given how things have sort of transpired and how it's sort of rolling out, I think they're going to be fine with these guys. It's not to say that these guys are going to be able to get them the wins that you know the franchise saw in decades past, but giving Delia the chance to get in more games, like I said, I think that's going to prove invaluable for his experience and development. So I'm looking forward to that. I think he's going to let in a lot of goals, but he's also going to have a lot of pucks thrown at him, and I think that's going to be good for his game. He's always come across as a very calm and collected goalie, and that reminds me a lot of Crawford. So in seeing the the small sample size we've seen of him, it's been nice to watch, and I look forward to seeing more of it.
And I know, Brooke, you mentioned Delia a little bit. Do you agree with Shaun that, you know, he should be given the full reign like that, or should they bring somebody else in?
No, I think he should get the full reign. I think he's waited long enough, and he has proven, like in the games that he has played, that he is capable. He can do it. I don't think it would be fair to switch to Malcolm Subban in that role right away, because I think, like I said, Colin Delia, I think, deserves it right now. And because the organization always kept circling back to Colin Delia, I think now it's really time for them to let him take over and see what he can do. And I think, yeah, he'll be just fine. If he continues consistently, like with what we've seen in the bits and pieces, I think he'll be just fine. I don't think we need to bring anyone in right now, but like Stan Bowman said, if this does turn into a catastrophe, then we'll be in the goalie market next year, but I don't see the need for it right now. I think this is kind of a learning season next season, and let's just see what we got and go from there.
Gail, do you agree with them?
You're all just assuming it's going to be Delia, huh?
Yeah, I am.
I just based upon what they did last year with Crawford and Leonard, I could see this being at least starting anyway as a bit of a tandem where they're going to go back and forth and maybe try to do a 50-50 thing with Leonard and Subban until or unless somebody comes out as like the uncontested, best option. I could see them kind of going back and forth, playing the hot hand, then the next one comes in. And I also could see both of them really struggling. And I think that this is going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be the biggest weakness and the biggest thing this year. If the goaltending can hold their own, then, maybe this team will look okay. If not,
How many games last year did it feel like that whoever was in net saw 30, 40 shots consistently? I feel like that it's even going to go higher.
Oh, it's going higher.
It's going way higher.
I can only imagine the barrage that's going to be seen in that net, but it's a good transition into our next question. So we'll start with Brooke on this one. Stan Bowman. I know this is going to probably raise some emotions up here, and that's good.
Simmer down now, Brooke. It's okay.
So
I got it. I'm good.
Give him a grade. How is he done? And do you feel, how hot is his seat? Like, could this be a season where if things don't go well, that they finally move on from him?
Okay, so I would probably grade Stan. Okay, I'll probably give him a D, only because he has made a couple good moves, like the Schmaltz for Strome ended up being good, and drafting DeBrincat in the second round was good. Like, I can't say all of his moves have been bad, but we can't ignore the bad moves that he's made. I feel like with Bowman, he's kind of done like we always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And he keeps trying to fix the things that aren't broken, like with trading Panarin and trading Hjalmarsson. And like now with Saad, like it just seems like the things that weren't the problem, it's kind of just, and Leonard, and it's just, yeah, I feel like he's just put himself in a bigger mess than it needed to be. And I don't know, but what can we do?
Yeah. So Gail, I see
But
you
I do
reacting
think,
over there. Oh, go ahead, Brooke.
oh, sorry. But I don't think his seat is hot at all. It should be, but I don't think it is. I mean, Rocky Wirtz and Danny Wirtz, the president, the interim president, I think they said that they have full confidence in Stan. So I feel like whether or not he does good or bad, as of right now, he's won 3 cups. So I think to them, in their mind, that seals their deal, that they trust him enough. And I think his seat should be hot, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Gail, I see you reacting over there. What's on your mind?
Well, Brooke brings up a very good point in that I don't see Bowman going anywhere anytime soon. There's always been some friction between the top brass. And if you haven't noticed, Joel Quenneville isn't around anymore. John McDonough isn't around anymore. And Stan Bowman is still here. And Stan Bowman got his coach that he wanted in Jeremy Colleton. And this is it. This is where we're at. We are, you can say that you don't like Bowman. I think that he's made some good moves and some bad moves. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. But we're here, and we've got Colleton as well to work with.
Shaun, what do you think of the performance of Stan Bowman, and where does he stand in your mind?
I got to agree with Brooke and Gail. Should his seat be hot? Absolutely. It should have been hot a long time ago, though. So to be honest, I sort of see his seat cooling off, if for nothing else, because with what we're seeing going on, it doesn't seem like much of it is putting more pressure on him. If anything, some of this communication that's coming out seems to be taking that pressure away from Bowman specifically, as far as management goes and decisions. The team's setting up to basically say they're not going to do much winning anytime soon. So from a management perspective, I can't see why them following through on that and not winning next year is going to be to his detriment. I don't think his seat is very hot for those reasons. Could they find another fit somewhere else for another reason? Certainly, but I don't think his seat is hot as far as, if they don't perform, then he'll be gone, because again, they're sort of setting the stage saying they're not going to be performing.
I'll just add one thing to this. I just wonder, let's say the new season starts and they start off like, I don't know, 0-5, 0-6, 0-7, something like that. Does that seat get at least a little bit warmer? And because he's replaced he got rid of Joel Quenneville, and they brought in Colleton, like you guys said. So it's like all the moves that could have been done have been done. So now the onus seems to be on him. And if they start out really poorly, say the goaltending doesn't perform, I just wonder if that seat just gets blistering hot quickly if they get off to a really bad start.
Certainly, yes, it could. But again, I just think that they found sort of an interesting loophole with positioning us to prepare for the worst. So I think it's really going to be the other way around, where if they come out with a couple wins in those first 10 games, then everyone will be super excited and thinking, how did they do that? They come out and lose 4 or 5 in a row. I don't think anyone's going to really be overly surprised. The only thing I can really see that would heat up his seat more would be uproar. If there's more fan uproar, or there's more lack of continuity throughout the team, or you see more veterans voicing their displeasure, that is what could cause that. But the team winning or losing, I don't think is going to have a factor. It's going to be the uproar from the veterans and the fans.
Interesting stuff. So we're at 5 minutes to 9 o'clock here again. If you're just joining us, this is the Hockey Writers Live. This is episode number 5. I am your host, Mark Scheig, and tonight we have our Blackhawks panel. Gail Kauchuk has joined us, and Shaun Filippelli has joined us, and Brooke LoFurno is joining us here. And we have one more question for all of you, just a minute or two, just your own thought here. This one will start with Shaun. So Shaun, 2021 season may or may not start in February, depending on how things go. Sell us on why you think the Chicago Blackhawks can be a good team, a playoff team in 2021.
That's a tough sell. I don't know that I can sell you on them being a playoff team, but what I will say, and I've said this for years, even when they've been struggling, what I can sell you on is the fact that this is a franchise and an organization that never stops competing. From that winning pedigree that they created through the 2010s, you've seen that battle in them. From the veterans to the young kids that are coming in, they consistently compete. We saw that evidenced in this last playoff round, their last postseason rush, which they should not have been anywhere near where they got, and they somehow managed to get by McDavid. So just seeing that compete level, I think, is going to always give them the edge. I don't foresee great things for them, but if I was put into a position to say to make a case for it, I'd say you have a team led by Taves, you still have Kane on that team, you have Kubalik, DeBrincat, Boqvist, you have guys that are up and coming, and when you get all of that and you make them underdogs and they want to compete, that's a recipe for surprises. So anything can happen, and you have goalies competing for a crease, so they have sort of an interesting recipe to really surprise some people.
Brooke, what do you think? Sell me on why you think the Hawks can be good or a playoff team in 2021.
I agree with Shaun. It's a tough sell. I don't really see them being very good, but I think they can be productive. If we continue seeing strides from Murphy, and if DeBrincat bounces back and Kane and Taves are still Kane and Taves, and and then Kubalik, if he can grow from last season, I think offense will be fine, but I'm still worried about defense. I'm worried about goaltending, but I know with Matthias Janmark and Lucas Wallmark, their defense should be a little better, and Zadorov, but I think what we should expect from them is mostly just to be a little bit more productive. Maybe not playoffs, but I can see them being like what we've seen. Like they can still score, they can still be, but who knows? They can surprise people. Maybe like Shaun said, it's full of surprises. But right now, I'm kind of just looking for them to kind of just play, maybe stay a little bit competitive, just not playoff bound.
Gail, we got two sort of non-believers. Do you join them, or do you have a little more confidence?
Well, I just hate to be negative about, the team. I guess I'm a little bit more of an optimist, and I believe in miracles. I like the additions, even though it wasn't picks and prospects. I like the additions of Wallmark and Janmark, the Swedes. Zadorov, I think that he's, maybe he's the missing piece on defense. Maybe defense is really going to be solid now because they've got that defensive defenseman that is, maybe the missing piece. And I think that Boqvist is going to take another step. Him and Doc were thrown into the fire last year, but they grew from that, and now they're coming in with that advantage. So I don't know. This team. They're young, they're young and dumb, and they got nothing to lose, so they're going to go for it, and they're going to do their best to improve, and they've got some really good mentors that are going to lead the way, hopefully if they're on board, like we talked about earlier. So no matter what, I'm excited, and hopeful the season is going to start, and I really hope that maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
And I'll just end it on this. I feel like they're going to be a very fun team. I mean, I'm really excited to see Dylan Strome, possibly, try and take the next step. I'm especially excited to see Kirby Dach take the next step. Yeah. So I think forward-wise, there's a lot of interesting and fun talent. And anytime Patrick Kane steps on the ice, anything can happen. A lot of fun elements there. Worried about the defense and the goaltending to see how they respond, But that's what's going to make it fun. You kind of don't know until you get there, but it could be a lot of 6-5, 7-6 kind of games, the way that it seems to be looking at this point. But regardless, it should be very interesting to watch. So Gail, Shaun, and Brooke, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here to talk all about the Chicago Blackhawks.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us for episode 5 tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday night. We're not going to go on next Tuesday with the election. Obviously, go out and vote. That doesn't matter which side of the pendulum you're on here, but make sure you have your voice heard. And then we'll be back next Wednesday night. As said, Brian Hedger from the Columbus Dispatch is going to join us. We're going to be talking about the Blue Jackets. We're going to be talking about the Chicago Blackhawks, even more from a former Blackhawks writer himself. And then we'll have another panel. So be safe, everybody. Do your part. And hopefully we'll get back to a little bit of normalcy soon. Have a good night. And we will talk to you next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.